For NBA fans like myself, the 2008 Redeem Team is the most important and influential team of our lifetime, as they overcame adversity, doubt, and even injuries en route to winning gold over Spain. And while many have told their story, the overall narrative stops after that gold medal game, when in reality, the 2008 Olympics had a massive effect on the following NBA season. And in today's video, I'm going to delve into the untold story of that 2008 Redeem Team. And first up, I want to look at Team USA's leader, that being Kobe Bryant, and his 2009 season. I would argue this year for Kobe was the most important season of his entire career. As the previous year in 2008, he had a phenomenal season, winning MVP, making the finals, of course winning gold. But still, with that being said, the elusive championship ring without Shaq was still out of grasp.
Check it, you know how I be. Last week Kobe couldn't do without me. You know how I be. Last week Kobe couldn't do without me.
And looking at 2009, that Lakers team was absolutely dominant, winning 65 games, which is the best in the West. And when it came to the NBA playoffs, where it mattered most, in that stacked Western Conference, he had to run the gauntlet. As in the first round, he played the 48-win Jazz, who had Darren Williams, as well as Carlos Boozer, members of the 2008 Redeem Team. In this series, Kobe averaged 27.4 points per game, and the Lakers won in 5. Looking to the second round, he played the Houston Rockets, who won 53 games, and once again averaged 27.4 points, and this time won the series in 7. And looking to the Western Conference Finals, he played another Team USA member, that being Carmelo Anthony, on the 54-win Denver Nuggets. And this series for Kobe was full of iconic moments, big-time daggers, and great clutch time play. As for the series, he averaged 34.0 points per game, one of the highest of his career, and in deciding Game 6, had 35 points, 10 assists, and 6 boards on 60% shooting. Now, I wish the finals were more competitive as he played Orlando, who won 59 games, but unfortunately they were not, as Kobe in this series averaged 32.4 points per game and not once scored under 29. And taking a more in-depth look at this run, Kobe in total had 15 games of 30 plus points, the third most ever. He tallied 695 points, the 8th most ever in a playoff run, and his scoring average was 30.2, the 7th highest ever for a title run. And looking at the teams he faced, their combined win percentage was the 10th highest in NBA history for a championship team. Taking all that into account, this run for Kobe, I think, was his greatest championship run, his most important title, his best final series, and quite frankly, the best all-around version of Kobe Bryant. And staying with the shooting guard, next up, we have Dwyane Wade, who on Team USA was their leading scorer. And when many forget, the following year in 2009, he had a fantastic and arguably the best year of his career, having 30.2 points per game, the most in the NBA, 7.5 assists, a career high, 5.0 boards, 2.2 steals, also career high, on great shooting. This year for Dwyane Wade, he was scoring from anywhere and everywhere on the basketball court and was on par with the best players in the world. As when it came to 30-point games, he had 39, the most in the NBA, 40-point games had 13, also the most, and 50-point games had 3. Once again, the most in the NBA. This version of Dwyane Wade was so good and so dominant, he not only was compared to Kobe, but also Michael Jordan. I am not kidding, this version of D-Wade was that good. And looking at his Heat team, they weren't anything special, but with D-Wade carrying them, they won 43 games. And looking at his overall roster, he had some decent players, but no teammate averaging above 15 points per game. And to really nail this point home that D-Wade carried this team, the previous year in 2008, they only won 15 games. Due to D-Wade's individual brilliance, his confidence from the 2008 Redeem Team, and also getting healthy, this year in 09 was quite possibly his best NBA season as an individual player. And looking at D-Wade's best friend, that was obviously LeBron James, who on the Redeem team was second in points per game. After that year, much like D-Wade and Kobe, LeBron had his best season to date. As for Cleveland, his team had the best record in the NBA, only losing 16 games. On its own, that feat is highly impressive. But looking at his roster, it becomes almost impossible to fathom. As his best teammate was Mo Williams, who averaged 17 a game, but past that, this roster was really thin and had no players who were great on both ends of the floor. And with that being the case, LeBron James this year led his team in points, assists, rebounds, steals, and blocks. And looking at the NBA playoffs, this run for LeBron is highly underrated. As in 09, he averaged 35.3 points per game, the 5th highest in NBA history, 9.1 boards, 7.3 assists, 1.6 steals on 51% shooting. Once again carrying his Cavaliers team, leading them in every category except blocks. And I'm gonna hammer it home even more, this run for LeBron James is one of the best carry jobs of all time. And in my personal opinion, it is definitively better than his carry job in 07, despite him this year not making the NBA Finals. As looking at NBA history, for this run, he was first all-time in win shares, plus minus, offensive plus minus, defensive plus minus, as well as PR. In the series he lost, he averaged 38.5 points, scored 49, 44, 41, and in Game 2 had the buzzer-beating jump shot, which is simply iconic. And staying in the 03 draft class, next up, we have Carmelo, who in 09 was in his 6th NBA season and had yet to win a playoff series. But for Denver this year, much like on Team USA, he took a step back and actually played great on both ends of the floor. For his Denver team, being 3rd defensive win shares, and collectively they were a top 10 defense at number 8, despite losing Marcus Camby, the previous Defensive Player of the Year. And with Melo being more unselfish, playing both ends, and just being a better all-around player, this Denver team won 54 games, the most in Nuggets history. And with that being the case, they were the 2nd seed in the Western Conference. And when it came to the NBA playoffs, this run for Melo is by far his best. As in the first round, for CP3's Hornets, he averaged 24 a game, and the deciding Game 5 had 34 points. And looking at the second round versus Dirk's Mavs, he averaged a whopping 30 points, and in Game 6 up 3-2, once again added in 30 points. And by beating Dallas in that series, Denver made their first conference finals since 1985. And in the conference finals, they played Kobe's Lakers, who were by far the best team in the NBA. And versus Kobe, he averaged 27.5 points per game, played great defense, and for the majority of the series went head-to-head versus the Black Mamba. Now, unfortunately, Denver lost in 6, but they did get 2 wins off LA and came the close to making the finals since the early 1970s. And looking at our next NBA superstar from Team USA, we have Dwight Howard of the Orlando Magic. And in 09, Dwight had the best year of his career, averaging 20.6 points per game, 13.8 boards, 2.9 blocks, 1.4 assists on great shooting. For the NBA this year, he was leader in rebounds, offensive rebounds, defensive win shares, blocks, and was 4th in field goal percentage. And when it came to Dwight's impact on winning, this year it was definitely felt, as they were 1 win shy of the franchise record 60 wins. And if you look at the NBA playoffs, this run for Orlando was their best in franchise history, as in the NBA Finals they got 1 victory, their only in franchise history. And historically speaking for Dwight Howard in this run, when it comes to the NBA playoffs, he ranks 11th all time in blocks and 11th in defensive win shares. Looking back on this 09 season for Dwight Howard, it is crazy to think he was only 23 years old and had tons of potential. And even looking at someone like Chris Paul in 2009, he averaged 22.8 points per game, the highest of his career. You had Deron Williams, averaged 10.7 assists, the most in his career. Chris Bosh averaged 22.7 points, the second highest of his career. And Jason Kidd shot 41% from 3, up till that point, the highest in his career. And looking at the entire NBA, the 08 Redeem team brought home nearly every award, as LeBron James, who was the MVP, Dwight Howard was the Defensive Player of the Year, Kobe won Finals MVP, Dwyane Wade led the NBA in scoring, Dwight led in rebounds and blocks, and CP3 led in assists and steals. Also pretty important to note, Kobe, LeBron, CP, and Dwight Howard were all first-team All-Defensive players. And looking at the MVP race, all the top 5 finishers were a part of the Redeem team. This right here is the untold story of that team and the impact of top-tier superstars playing together. As the old saying goes, iron sharpens iron. So in summary, this is an amazing team, an amazing story, and an example of how one summer can change NBA history forever. As always, thank you guys for watching, hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you guys next time.